to play, and now it's known as the Celtic way. We play the ball from side to side, and intermediate tries to hide, but we play the ball from front to back. Attack, 67, and he's a Lisbon, the first game in the thousands, to see the boys become champions of 67, and he's a Lisbon, the first game in the thousands, to see the boys become champions.
Hello and welcome to episode 71 of Celtic Rumours TV, the Bawz and Bovril podcast with your host Mark and myself Paul. Joining us tonight we have Barry, Iceman from our forum page to the podcast. It's celticrumours.tv at co.uk. Tonight we'll be looking at last night's 3-0 demolition of our neighbours Rangers, and we'll be also looking ahead to the weekend's game against Motherwell. Firstly though, I'll hand off to Mark for a few shout-outs, and then he will bring Barry onto the show.
Thanks very much, Paul. A few quick shout-outs to the usual suspects: Tim Alloy, Richie and his family, Campsey, and Mikey as well. A wee special mention for John. Hey, Paul, reunite the island. John's been on here a couple of times, and I look my mate John at Mikey's football match, man. He realises he's a cracking young lad. He's a good bit younger than us, but me and him got on well. But he lost his grandfather yesterday, so that was a tough thing, because I think he was pretty close to the way he's talked about him and that. So hope he gets over that as best as he can, as quickly as he can. It's all the best to you and your family as well, John. We lost a stub again, Paul. I think that was me slagging Tony Watt. I think he unsubscribed to the channel because of that. So we're back down to 525. So if you have not subscribed, please do, and hit the like button as well, please. Who have we got in the chat already? The Jabra Jobbies evening, mate. Terence, if you're not working, want to come on, let us know. Stubbsy, thanks for coming in again, bud. That's about me, Paul. Just still going to get Barry on there. Just not got to say anything then.
Okay. Yeah.
Paul's not done any notes today, so he's not waffling on. Is that you, Barry, bud?
Yeah, here the boys.
Aye, thanks very much for coming on, Barry.
No worries at all.
So, what was your take on last night then?
Absolutely flying, mate. Honestly, I've been walking on air the whole day, absolutely buzzing. You know, this is the first podcast that I've been able to come on after beating those bastards. So it'll be a much more positive one for me tonight, because the last few haven't been so much. So, just absolutely brilliant. Honest to God, what a feel-good factor last night's performance has put through every Celtic fan. I thought first 45 minutes, they were just sensational. Honest to God, I can't remember a 45 minutes where we've put a team like that to the sword. And if it wasn't for McGregor and, Jack and Marcus being a wee bit unlucky, that could have been 4, 5, 6 before they reached the 45-minute mark. It was just brilliant, honest to God. And I'm still buzzing yet. As you probably gathered, I'm still absolutely flying.
You tell for your messages today that you were in a bit of a high hour.
It's about time, guys, honestly. How many times have I come on here? We have a sad face and moans and groans. So I thought I want to come on this one tonight, that's for sure.
I think it was crucial as well that at 1-0, Joe Hart, Barry making that save, keeping that 1-0, and then we go up the other end in a matter of minutes and we get the second. You know what I mean? Like, he having nothing to do with throughout the whole first half, and it's just the concentration of Joe Hart as well. Even his distribution, wanted to get the ball out early, just to keep the attack going all the time,
Somebody mentioned, some player came out and mentioned that the other week in the paper as well, Paul. He says it's relentless when they're playing against Celtic. He says even when the ball's going out for a throw in, most teams they've got a wee 10-second kind of break just to get back in position. But he says that as soon as the ball's out of play, you're turned round and the Celtic players taking a throw in already and things like that. It just says it's just constant pressure. Barry says that first 45 minutes was it was some of the best football I've ever seen for Celtic in my life. I've got to be honest about that. It really is, and it's the best I've seen for Tommy Burns. For me, that was the first 45 minutes. Paul was better than anything I've seen under Martin O'Neill. Actual style and play of football. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about the great times he gave us beating Rangers, but the actual way we played in that, it was a pure joy to watch. I thought
we rattled them, Mark. Like they did
nothing. They did nothing.
Didn't know, like we said it like that. We have to win the midfield. And I thought Conor McGregor last night, like, just led by example. You know what I mean?
Aaron Ramsey's not going to fix that team.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Aaron Ramsey's not going to change much in that team. So I mean, a lot of people were saying we were tired in the second half and things like that. But see, as well, Paul, you've got to look at maybe being a bit of game management. Aye, the fans want to go, come on, give us 5, give us 6, but the game was done. We know that players are still trying to keep fit. Do you know what I mean? They're still trying to keep that fitness level. So kind of in a way I can understand a lot of the way we approached the second half. It was up to them to try and do something then. We destroyed them in that first half. The second half was up to see what they could do.
Exactly.
It had wee spells of pressure, but really it was nothing really.
Barry, I think looking at all the players last night, like, it's hard to pick a man of the match for everyone last night, but Rio Hayase, he's finishing, you know, from outside the box. Like, that's 3 games, 3 goals. You know, like, what a player he's turned out to be, isn't he?
Well, you know something, and rightly so, he will get man of the match. You know, he got 2 fantastic goals. He got the assist. He was sensational, but I'll tell you something, if it wasn't for the 2 goals in Abada, for me, Ivanovic was unbelievable last night. He was absolutely incredible. Not just last night. See, since the season started, he has been incredible. We've picked this guy up for, 2.5 million, something like that, and he's an absolute Rolls Royce. He really is, and I just thought last night, whether it be defending, whether it be, you know, his passing, his distribution, his contribution into the attacks, it was just, honest to God, you know, I can't speak highly enough of that 45 minutes. And like Mark says, listen, I think every probably Celtic fan could have predicted, well, we're going to sit off a bit. We'd put that much effort into that first 45 minutes. And that's the way it is, the intensity, the levels that were played at in that. It was almost going to drop off a bit. But like Mark says, we'd got three goal lead. You know, they were going to come at us. We knew that, but credit to the defence. See Starfelt, see Carter Vickers and Greg Taylor and Juranovic. They weren't troubled at any point. You know, they talked about set pieces has been Achilles' heel, which yeah, absolutely has. But you know what? They stood up last night. If anything that Rangers had, which was pretty powder puff, they've got thrown at them. They just lapped it up. And yeah, whilst the second half was, Celtic just saw the game. Like Matt says, it's game management. We just saw that game out. As long as we didn't let them back in, we didn't get troubled. Joe Hart, not a save to make. You know, anything that, there was a couple of shots down his throat that he was never going to let in. But yeah, you know what? The damage was done in the first half. And, you know, each to a man, they were absolutely brilliant last night, honestly. I done ratings and nobody got lower than a 9 for me.
Mark, we know about the attack and you say like the second half was game management and stuff like that, but like credit to the defence last night to Starfelt, Vickers, especially Taylor. You know, I thought Taylor was outstanding. He kept Ahmad and Tavernier, they just wanting the game between himself and Gasa. They controlled that side of the pitch yesterday.
I thought Taylor had a brilliant game. Really, he did. And I know I have to always stick up for him, you know that, Paul, but I don't think anybody could have had a bad word to say about him last night. I even see some people with Starfelt saying, "Oh, a couple of wobbles in that." I never seen any wobbles.
No.
And even
so.
even if you did, why bring that up when you look at everything else he done in the game? No, I mean, even the stat I sent you, the wee link with the stats and that for Taylor earlier on, Paul, and it was like, I think it was going with the stats. Taylor was man of the match.
Taylor was man of the match, yeah. Like, it was like, I think, Mark, Callum McGregor starting yesterday set the tone for that.
Paul, you're buzzing a bit again.
Jeez, I'll change my portal there.
I thought I'd fixed it there, but it's coming back again. It must be something you're putting in the wrong bit.
What about now?
No, there's still a wee bit of it there as well, I think.
Talk about it, fix it there, Mark.
Right. So what about you, Barry? What do you think of Starfelt and Taylor last night?
I thought both of them, that was their best performance for the club. You know what, Starfelt's been building that, guys. He's coming for a bit of criticism, but he was fantastic last night. Greg Taylor, without a doubt, the best performance in a Celtic jersey. And you know what? I'm so delighted for him because he has been, a whipping boy for a lot of people, a lot of fans, media, etc. But that wee man turns up every week. He always gives 100% no matter what. You'll never shy away. You'll never hide. You'll always look to get on that ball. And, he's bought into the whole Ange philosophy because just his defending yesterday, which was brilliant, by the way. He was up against that guy that they were all waxing lyrical about for the weekend, and he did not give him a sniff. But not only that, he put him on the back foot. Taylor was bombing forward. He was coming into midfield. They didn't know how to handle him. And you know what? I was absolutely delighted for him. I really was.
Maybe that's him turned a corner in his Celtic career, and he will get maybe a bit of a break off the kind of people that were always on his back and things like that. No, I mean,
Mark, we always said, like, we never questioned Taylor's defending or anything like that. We said that he seems to be getting caught after, like, for pace, but like every game he seems to getting fitter and fitter. Under Ange, like, and I think yesterday, like,
and maybe
just
getting more used to the system, Paul. I know you were even at the start of that, you were always saying Taylor doesn't look comfortable playing in Ange's system. But he looked comfortable enough last night, didn't he?
Like, you look at the amount of people, Mark, that are making their Derby Day debuts, like O'Reilly, Hyasa. I don't think Hyasa was in the first game, was he? No, he wasn't. That's why Kyogo had to play at left, wasn't it? Yeah, on the left there. Like, you look at that, like this is only Jovanovic's second game against him. Like,
what a player he is as well, isn't he? Jovanovic, just as cool as a cucumber. Doesn't matter what's going on about him.
Like, this is a winning team. Like Rangers, who won the league by 25 points last season. Like, I said it there last week. Like I said, us scoring that last gap winner against Dundee United the weekend, it's switching the pressure back on them, and they crumbled, Mark. They didn't. I think Van Bronckhorst's tactics played into our hands because with Tavernier and Basic not pushing forward, Mark, it just gave Abada and Jovanovic space. Like how many times have we seen Abada come in off the left, Mark, to that back post and score?
I know.
And that's finishing. Like, that's not easy to do on the run from the left. Like, and like that finishing was just cool as a breeze, Mark, again by Abada last night. Like, it was just from start to finish. Like, I thought every player was just brilliant last night. Even McCarthy, Mark, when he came on.
I thought McCarthy played well when he came on. And again, special mention for Big Jacko. I thought Big Jacko. I mean, you've got TV. We're talking about. I'm the same as Barry. I couldn't really pick a man of a match out of that last night. I'd probably go with Hatate for the 2 goals. But in just actual performances, Giacomakis must have been one. Do you get what I mean? He must have been pushing for a man of the match on that performance last night.
Mark. They terrorised that defence last night.
The only thing missing was a goal. Like, I would have loved him to get a goal against him last night just for the performance he put in.
Because he was absolutely brilliant. And you know what? He's not got the pacer that a Kyogo does. He does, but he works his socks off, and he was closing everything down. One point in the first half, he was at right back trying to get the ball back. Like Mark says, he did deserve a goal. He was so unlucky. He hit the target with the 3 efforts. McGregor made a couple of good saves. One of them was a bit lucky, actually. He made a brilliant run to the front post, got a good contact on it. I think kind of hit McGregor's leg and came up into his hands. But, you know, we needed that from him last night. You know, he led from the front. He pressed. His work rate was terrific. Like Mark says, all it was missing was a goal. And by God, he deserved one. And it was just unfortunate. But it was his attitude along with the rest of them. Like I say,
there was at one point in the one point in first half, he was back covering the right back position.
Mm-hmm.
And what?
That's I mentioned that.
Did you? Sorry, bye.
But Mark, like,
carry on.
Even like Barry was saying there, like Jovanovic there, like he had Kent in his back pocket last night. Like, I mean, and you could see the frustration setting into that Rangers team. Their distribution was shocking yesterday.
I think a lot of Rangers problems now are like our problems last year. I think there's a lot of players.
Mark, yeah?
A lot of players don't want to be there. That's obvious. There's a lot of players that don't want to be there anymore. But let them all squabble and get on with it. We'll just keep plodding on, doing what we're doing, winning the league.
Like it, for the first time, I looked forward to watching Chris Boyd, and it was the first time I ever heard Chris Boyd saying Celtic terrorised Rangers. He said Rangers were shambles. They just didn't expect Celtic to come out that fast.
Oh, it was a Celtic TV stream I watched. It was John Collins and Big Hartson that were on it.
Yeah, you know, like I specifically turned it over, Mark, to watch him, to see what he said, and he couldn't do nothing but praise Celtic last night, Chris Boyd.
I watched the highlights. I watched the highlights again, and I watched the highlights again lying in bed last night on Sports Scene, and that Neil McCann said the first goal should have been chopped off.
Well, I was looking, right. They asked Giovanni Brancos about that last night, and he said, "Fair enough, their player was down." But he said, "Did the ref blow the whistle?" And he said, "No." The commentator said, "No, he didn't." Yes. So why did my player stop? You know, no referee blow the whistle. You play the game. You play it to the ref's whistle, and that's right, Barry. Like, you know, that's what you do. You play for the whistle. You know, the referee blow the whistle, Barry. Do you know what I mean?
Van Bronckhorst, basically, you're absolutely spot on, Paul. Van Bronckhorst kind of slaughtered these players for it. And it was a bit refreshing, actually, because Boyd said it should have been chalked off. McCann said it on BBC last night, it should have been chalked off. He was more concerned about player stop. He says it was unbelievable. Yeah. He says my player stopped. He says you never stop. He says you got to play to the whistle. But what confused me was, and I couldn't for the life of me, and I'd love somebody, either one of the guys that are listening or any Mark or yourself, Paul. Why was Bobby Madden over at the? I
don't know what that was about.
What was that conversation?
And then Kid Nonny was talking to VAR or somebody like that, wasn't it?
That's what I didn't get, Mark. Who's he talking to? Because there's no VAR. Like, who's the only one to make that decision? Is Bobby Madden.
It was bizarre because it's a goal. There's no way you can rule out the goal after it's happened. You can't do that. It was like he was looking for an excuse not to watch the goal, but. That was bizarre, but
I remember.
Back to your point, it was definitely a goal. You know, you play to the whistle. I mean, he did go to blow, he did, but Hattati got his shot away. There's no. I mean, it was actually pathetic.
It was a split. It was a split second. Even if it was a serious heat knock, Barry. By the time that happened and the ball ended up in the net, it wasn't really interfering with play or anything like that.
Mark, if that was on the other side, he'd be up like a shot.
But see, if you watch, I don't really think it was as much a head knock as it like just like a kind of body check.
You know,
you wondered if it was like a bit of whiplash or something because he never hit his head; he just bashed into him. You wonder if he did, but you know, regardless, that there was no impact on that goal being scored.
Just grasping at straws again. That'd be Neil McCann. It is embarrassing. It really is.
They just can't see the delight that was put on last night, Mark, by this Celtic team. Do you know what I mean? It was like James McFadden said he hasn't seen a team so fast in Scotland that he can remember. He said that for a manager like that came in just in the summer, had no team, and everyone expected Rangers to win this league comfortable this year because of that, like. But my God, Barry, like what Ange has brought to Celtic, like, I haven't seen in a long, long time.
I don't think it's ever been. You know, obviously different managers have got their own styles, and as Mark kind of touched on earlier, Tommy Burns had a fantastic. I mean, when you come to pure football, I've never seen one since, and you know we've had great success with like Martin O'Neill.
But the actual style of the way we were playing the game, Barry.
Tommy Burns has never been matched. We've got it's a different style to what Tommy Burns played, but in terms of the actual football and the effectiveness and the actual. It's a joy to watch. The fans are up off their seats. You've got entertainers like Jota, Abada, you know, the Kyogo, all these guys. It's just, and we're back to looking forward to the next game now. You know, it's absolutely sensational. And, you know, going back to a couple of players again last night, you spoke earlier, Paul, Callum McGregor. What a leader. You know, for anybody that questions Callum McGregor being a Celtic captain, not captain material, you don't have to be a shouter and a screamer and a pointer to be a captain. See the fact that he's failed yesterday about 8 or 9 days after sustaining what Ange himself said was a significant facial injury. There's your leadership right there. I think he set the tone, Barry, to that Celtic team that he wanted to play because he knew. I think Cal McGregor knew there were so many new players in that team that he had to show leadership to play that game last night. And I think he made it his business to play that game last night. There was no way Cal McGregor was missing that game last night. He knew the importance of it, Barry. And he
just said he was going to miss it. You were sending me pages up and pages of links about and what did I say to you? You'll be playing.
Yeah, you did, yeah.
There was no doubt in my mind that McGregor was going to take it. And for me, we're not the same team if Callum McGregor doesn't play. With all due respect to your near Beatons or maybe your James McCarthy, we are not the same team when Callum McGregor's not in it. And there, for me, you know what? For all the guys that maybe question his leadership, his captain material, that there is a captain. That taking the field when you're not 100%, he's not 100%, but he knew the importance of that game last night, and he led that team to victory. And a brilliant performance from Callum McGregor. And another one I wanted to just quick mention was, again, I can't believe that the impact he's had. O'Reilly. O'Reilly, my God. What a 7 days he's had. He made his debut 7 days ago. Well, yesterday was against Hearts at Tynecastle, one of the most intimidating places you could go. And he was sensational. I thought he was fantastic again against Dundee United. And last night, baptisms on fire, he was brilliant.
They asked him.
Did you see his interview after it? Yeah. He was in shock, wasn't he? He really was.
He said he's been to a lot of grounds in England, Barry, and he said he's been to Champions League matches abroad and stuff like that. And he said that was a special moment for him last night. You know, he said it's one that he'll never forget. He said he never witnessed an atmosphere non-stop for 90 minutes. You know, non-stop.
I think, yeah. I mean, this is a guy who he's had his education at Fulham. You know, he's came up through the youth ranks, highly thought of player. You know, played cap to England, all youth levels. But you know what? I think it's a testament to himself and his character that he was offered a 3 year. I know a couple of boys still in the systems, Noah or Matty Riley, before he came up here, and he was very well thought of at Fulham. He was offered a 3 year deal, which he turned down and reduced his money to go to MTK.
He was a free agent for 6 months, Barry. He didn't have a club for 6 months.
And that was because he believed that he wanted to play first team football elsewhere other than potentially being stuck in the Fulham reserves. And he's come up from League One, and by God has he taken the bull by the horns and taken his opportunity. And he's made the sort of loss of Rogic for the last 3 games kind of disappear. You know, we've kind of not really mentioned or noticed that Rogic wasn't there in terms of the impact that Matty O'Reilly has. But again, another one last night, absolute Rolls Royce a footballer. He was fantastic. Juranovic, Abada and O'Reilly really tormented down that right-hand side last night. And goodness me.
I thought Abada just didn't stop, Barry. Didn't stop at all last night. He just, every time he had a Tavernier, he just tore him apart. You know,
tore Barisic to pieces. He terrorised him, Paul. And you know something? I think what we need to remember, or something that's easy to forget, he just turned 20, just around the Christmas mark. You know, in November, December, he turned 20 years old.
I was just going to say that as well, Barry. He's actually playing like a bit more even. We spoke about it before. When he came back from the injury and his COVID spell, he wasn't kind of moving as quick and things like that. But the last few games in that, he's starting to get that back. But he's starting
13 goals, like.
But he's starting to play as
13
like a player well beyond his years, isn't he, Barry? And kind of maturity he's showing on the
100%,
park.
Definitely. And this kid, 13 goals he scored this season, 8 assists. You know, he's been responsible. He's played his part in 21 goals for the club this season. Like I said, and a guy who's just turned 20 years old. But like that, he's such an intelligent young guy. You know, the positions he takes. I mean, how easy is it for a right winger, if you like, to stand out on that touchline and wait for the ball? He gets himself in positions where he gets his goals. How many times has he come inside that fullback and got the end of a cross and scored last night? And that goal that he scored, it was just an opportunist, like you say, Mark, beyond his years, to take up that position, to recognise that I've got an opportunity to get in front of the defender and score here. The only way we were going to do it, you know, Hatate only had one place he was going to put that ball, but Abada was the one that recognised it. And you know something that you could probably tell by my tone, I'm still absolutely flying just at the point.
But even
somebody needs to shut me up.
And you say they're like only 20 years of age, like and stuff like that. Like Brasek is a Croatian international, Mark. Do you know what I mean? You know.
And he destroyed them.
Destroyed him. You have Yata on the other side, who, for me, annihilated the Rangers captain in Tavernier.
I don't rate that Tavernier at all.
No. You know, like, even...
Tavernier can't defend. See what? Obviously, Van Bronckhorst come in, and I'm not really interested in what Van Bronckhorst or that team do. But it's clear that now he hasn't got his licence to do whatever he wants. And now that he's a right back, he's getting found out because he can't defend. And Jota proved that. You know, I think Jota probably, you know, he had it on toast last night. He really did. He was terrorising him. He didn't know what to do, and that's because he's been asked to defend, and he can't defend. He's getting found out in my eyes.
Barry, just go back to what you were saying about Cal McGregor. Like, we were always saying, like myself and Mark, like, you haven't been on for us, right? But we were saying like that this could be Cal McGregor's new position in the centre, and going forward, I can't see Cal McGregor actually going up front anymore. Like, you know, is that the new role? Maybe Ange sees Cal McGregor in now.
See, for me, Paul, that's his position. And see that deeper line within the... We've all known Callum McGregor under Brendan Rodgers. He was, a big goal threat going forward. He was taking up attacking positions. He was getting shots away to the edge of the box, scoring goals regularly. But I just think he's that good a footballer that we need the play to go through him. And I spoke about it about last season, you know, when all the play was going through Scott Brown, when it should have been Callum McGregor. I think sometimes when Callum McGregor plays in the forward role and under Ange's system, you know, where you've got the deeper line one and the two more attacking, I sometimes think he's not as effective when he plays that bit further forward. I think with Callum McGregor, his skill set and his attributes, you've got to have him in the centre, dictating the play, controlling the play, because he can spot a pass. He's got a great passing range, and you know, you've also obviously got Ideguchi to come back in there. You've got Beaton that can cover there. But for me, Callum McGregor going forward, he is your focal point. He is the one that that play needs to go through. And for me, not got that result not necessarily the result, but it might have not been as emphatic if Callum McGregor wasn't on the field last night, because I don't think there's another player that we had available that can do the job that McGregor does.
Like, Mark, like the first time since the 1st of September 2019 was the last time we beat them. And
it's terrible when you hear it into it. It really is, because they've not been that good throughout that spell. That's the galling bit about it.
No, but like, for a goalkeeper last night, Mark, to deal with only one shot on target last night, like, that's shown how settled the partnership for one, I think, of Starfelt and Vickers is outstanding. Taylor last night was brilliant. Jovanovic last night was brilliant. Hart, I can't remember the last time we had a keeper, Mark, who had nothing to do in a derby game.
No. You know? Oh, yeah, you're right there, Paul.
You know, like, John, about this cheating by Rangers, Mark, and stuff like that. Trying to look, Rangers couldn't even get in a box last night to get a penalty. So, Bobby Madden actually couldn't give him nothing, Mark, because they weren't even in the box. Do you know what I mean?
I do think we should have had a penalty as well.
That was, and I'm without doubt, because when you see the playback, his hands were all over him.
His hands were all over him and pulling at him, and that should definitely have been a penalty.
You know, like going forward, like Barry, like you look at the players who have to come back. Like you've Roderick, you've Kyogo, you've Tom, but like, and as you said, there are Bison, Nucci, we've McCarthy there. Ange has some serious big answers to the questions to ask himself, like how do I fit everyone in? Like, because I'm looking at Roderick and I can't see Riley being dropped for Roderick at the moment. How fast the tempo actually stays without Roderick and Tom at the moment.
Well, I think,
Maybe
thing
certain
with
games.
I mean, I think the thing with Ange, but he's really implemented this high tempo, high intensity, fast paced game. Now, what we've sort of first half of the season is we've had some performances that have been terrific, and for sort of 60 minutes we've really put teams under pressure and really sort of implemented his style. And then the last sort of 30 minutes it kind of drops off, and that's natural because you cannot keep that intensity up. But what was different in the first half of the season that's going to be different in the second part is when you look at the bench in the first half of the season, we didn't have the players that could come on and sort of replace. So, for example, Kyogo, if he wasn't there or after 60 minutes he starts to tire, Giacomakis wasn't available, Ayete wasn't available. We didn't really have the players that could come in. Now, with the recruitment and also the players coming back from injury, what we're going to have is we're going to have players that could come on and take the place of the players that maybe dip in terms of their intensity. And that's what's going to hopefully keep a 90-minute or eventually get a 90-minute performance where we can really keep that. But I think to have that sort of squad and that size of squad, Paul, that's simply due to the fact that the style that Ange plays, this high intensity, that's how unfortunately we've picked up 2 or 3 injuries, with the hamstrings. It's because we couldn't really give players a rest. Turnbull played just about every single game up until his injury. That's because we didn't have another body that could come in and take his place. But now we seem to have that. We're signing the Japanese guys, bringing in Matty O'Reilly. We've now got that squad depth and the quality that hopefully, once we've got everybody back fit, it's going to reap the benefits for the title running.
Do you think Ange will have like a first 11 bit, Paul? I don't think Ange. That's what I mean. I think he obviously,
obviously comes in knows what they're doing. Like, do you know what I mean?
Aye, but I mean, obviously, Hart's starting every game. Carter Vickers and Starfield, we'd pick them every week. But there's some weeks Ange's just going to play young Welsh in there, and some weeks he'll play Scales at left. But do you get what I mean? You can't really. It's hard to pick who would be like the 11. I think Ange's maybe looking at it as if it's like a squad game. What he's got on the park and on the benches, what
especially
he's
now, Mark, that there's
chop and changes.
Like
Aye. Oh, definitely, that's a big benefit for us. I mean, you're basically able to change half your team.
Yeah, and like as Barry said there, like you look at the players coming back, like, and if we make 5 subs, Mark, like the tempo's going to stay the same.
Aye, that's exactly. But I think maybe what Angie's kind of plan is. I mean, even when you think like what we're seeing now, I mean, we're sitting here the now saying, right, that 3-man midfield of McGregor, Hatate and O'Reilly, you can't fault the way it's working out. That's brilliant, our midfield now. But then you're saying, well, if you're playing Kyogo up front through the middle, where are you going to play Maeda?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Are you going to play him out right? But then what about Abada? Things like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, like it's unbelievable. Like, Mark, I think to the weekend, like we could see a whole different team come out now because of the high intensity we played yesterday against Motherwell at the weekend. Do you know what I mean? There could be Ange could ring in the changes there again. Like, you know what I mean? Like Abada went off. I think Barry. I think we can nearly say that was nearly a pulled.
It looked a bit like it, didn't it?
Yeah, Taylor got, and you know what? Taylor didn't come off, Mark, even though he was limping, and he still gave 100%. Like, and Taylor was on one leg near the end of that game.
Aye, Taylor. I showed a bit of metal about him as well, staying on. But see, while we're talking about that, we've spoke about it before, Paul. What to ask Barry? What did you think of like James Forrest's future at the club now?
In terms of his future, I don't. You know what? I need to be honest and say I've been a bit disappointed with Forrest. I don't know what's. you know, since the sort of the turn of the winter break, I need to be honest and say I've not been overly impressed with Jamesy. I don't know what's happening. I don't know if he's struggling with fitness or whatever. But for me, in the games since he's come back, you know, Hibs, Hearts, you know, the games that he's played in,
like the big,
even yesterday when he came on, I just he's not producing.
the young
for me.
16-year-old overshadowed him again, Barry, yesterday when he came on.
Yeah,
Dell.
I think so.
You know what I mean?
I think so. And it was the same on Saturday.
Yeah.
When young Ben Doak came on,
Yeah.
he was positive. He was taking the full back on. Jamesy, for me, is just not doing it. And you know something, I've always been a bit reluctant to sort of criticise. I don't like criticising any Celtic player, to be perfectly honest, but you need to sort of hold your hand and be honest. And for me, James Forrest, he's just not really... I need to be honest and say he's not delivering. And I think as well, you know, with the whole sort of high press and intensity, is that James Forrest's game? I don't know. I don't know if...
Yeah, so we were saying it, like, we were saying that last week.
Is he even fit enough to play the way Ange wants his players to be playing?
I don't think so.
Aye.
You know what I mean? Because, like, we spoke about, like, and I said, like, James Forrest, like, is I would say, Barry, he's getting to the wrong side of 30. Like, and as a ringer, Barry, like, you're going to lose some of your pace, and with the injuries James Forrest has had, especially this season and the big injury he had last season, I can't see him getting back that pace, you know, and I can't see him playing this high tempo that Ange plays. Like, Ange wants his wingers, Barry, to get down the wing, and that's not James Forrest's game anymore, you know.
No, I'd be inclined to agree with that. I mean, I don't want to write James Forrest off, and I'm not going to.
And because he's a Celtic player, no, Barry, like, you know what I mean? You know?
Paul, when you've got guys like Liel Abada putting in the performances he's put in, and Jota on the other wing, and then you've got young Ben Doak, who, again, another one that just turned 16 at Christmas time, you know, 16-year-old.
Yeah.
He should be doing his exams and his homework. He's playing against Rangers on a Wednesday night.
Yeah.
You know, they're putting in these performances. I'm sorry, I don't think Ange is going to think to himself, well, you know what, okay, he's only a 16-year-old kid, but look, James Forrest's been at the club for 10 years, he's delivered. I think if you're not performing there and then, you're going to get overtaken. And right now, James Forrest isn't performing. Like I say, I'm not writing him off. I hope he does come good because we know what he can produce. But it's like you say, there's a big question mark over whether he can do what Ange is going to ask his wingers to do, and that's play at this high tempo. I think as well, when Jamesy goes to press a player, for me, it's a kind of, I don't want to say fake press.
He kind of just dumps a bit in front of him. He doesn't actually go for the ball.
Did you see the amount of pressure Giamarcus and Mida when he came on put on Alan McGregor last night, and McGregor's distribution of the ball last night was shocking. How many times did he put the ball out of play last night because of the high press set by Giamarcus last night, Mark? You know?
Giamarcus never gave him no, he was, every time he was in top of chasing down the ball in their defence, and you could see he was even pointing, telling other players to run. Do you know what I mean? While he was running to do his job, telling them where to run to try and catch them out there. As you say, McGregor half the time he was just punch up the park. One of them he just went out for a throw in, but it was. We were all hurting for the first 45 minutes, and they couldn't live with it. They just could not live with us last night in that first half.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Paul, you spoke about it earlier. You said Rangers' distribution was terrible, and you're absolutely right. But that was down to the fact that Celtics...
On top of them, we were in their faces, Barry. Like, they're not used to that.
Yeah, he led from the front, and he didn't give them a minute. And as a result, you know, the O'Reilly would then drop in to cut off a pass. Hatate would cut off the pass. Which forced them to go long. And that's, you know, and once they went long, we mopped the ball up, and we just never, like, relentless, I think is the word. We never gave them an opportunity. They never had a pass on because of the press from the front guys. And as a result, we got that ball back and we just went at them. And like I say, it's not even a disappointment, but the only thing that I would, sorry didn't happen yesterday, is it wasn't 4 or 5 or 6, because in that first half, there's no way anybody could have argued with the fact that if we'd have gone in 6-0 up. You couldn't argue with that fact.
No, like, I personally wasn't. I thought it was going to be. I was comfortable going into it because I knew the tempo was with us. You know what I mean? Because of the Dundee United game, like. But that just blew me away. You know what I mean? Like,
I'll be honest, Paul. I didn't see that last night. I think in the build-up, I was very wary of what the midfield was going to look like. I was praying that McGregor was going to play and as soon as I found out that he had a chance, and when Ange had said that he trained the day before, I kind of thought he's going to play. There's no way Ange is going to come in and say he's training and then no play him. That gave me that confidence because, like I say, for me, I don't know if we're the same midfield if Callum McGregor's not in it. So I didn't see that coming last night in terms of how much we just blew them out the water. But it was a pleasant surprise, and it's a testament to the team and to the coaching staff and the manager that everything seemed to click last night. What we've maybe been criticised for before is maybe not finishing games off.
And I think that was key last night, Barry. Like that was key last night. And even Callum McGregor said that in his interview. Like we knew we haven't been taking the chances that we should have been in some games when we had our possession, we had the chance, we just didn't take them. And he said we knew we had to take our chances last night. And to be fair, like they took them, like, you can't.
Oh, definitely, Paul. And the amount of pressure. Obviously, we get the early goal, which was fantastic, and then the amount of pressure we then applied to them. And Jota has the shot that McGregor saves, and Giakoumakis follows it up, and then he has another two great efforts. He was so unlucky. I was really disappointed for the big man last night that he did end up with a goal because his play certainly deserved it. But you spoke about it earlier. We're 1-0 up, and then they have that half chance where Aribo puts it through, and Joe Hart, brilliant, comes, tearing off his line and mops it up. But it's like that, you're sitting there thinking, well, we've had all this pressure and we've not made them pay. But like you say, right after that, bang, 2-0, bang, 3-0, that's it, game's done. I had no problem with the second half. I heard some bangers on the radio saying it was a game of two halves,
Not
Celtic was good the first half. Rangers weren't good the second half. We just controlled the game. It was game management. They didn't even have a...
They said it.
That Jack Shaw off the bat, that's not a chance. That's a wonder strike.
They said it was the first time.
About the water.
They said it there when they were doing the possession that it was the first time Ange's team didn't have the best amongst possession. And Petrov turned round. He says, "But what did Rangers do with their 56% of possession? They did nothing." They did nothing, Mark. They were just passing along the back or trying to get out from the back. But he says anytime they got in the Celtic half, they gave it away. Like, they did nothing with it. You know what I mean?
I mean, well, in modern football, Paul, you're as guilty as anybody. You love all your stats and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, they don't mean nothing.
No.
The only stat that matters is the actual the final scoreline. I mean, don't get us wrong. It's good when you're sitting there saying, "Oh, look, we had 16 shots in goal and they only had 3 and we done this."
I always said it, Mark, like that when we played the likes of Livingston and stuff. I said, like, we can have all the possession that we want.
Aye.
But the main thing is we didn't score.
You could have 99% possession and their 1% the time they ran up the park and get the goal. Again, that's just folk looking at excuses in that, Paul. You know what I mean?
Like, it was key, Mark. Like, we all know it. Like, this is a February. Like, you're not going to win the league in February, Mark, but it puts us in a great position. Like, and like it puts some serious questions now on the other half of the city. But like, in terms of Celtic, like, where does this put us now, Mark? Like how much of a mental boost is this?
Oh, it's a major psychological boost for even to the fans. Kind of thing, even the way Barry's saying, fans are looking forward to going to games again, Paul. Every Celtic fans are buzzing. We're all excited talking about the team and we're not really moaning about much kind of thing in that. But for the actual psychological thing in the team, it'll be massive for them as well. I mean, for knowing, what happened at Ibrox, it was a bit of a disaster earlier in the season. We more than made up for that last night. But just keep your foot in the gas, Paul. If we win I'm not saying we'll win every game, but we've got to look at it. If we win every game, we're champions.
Mark, like, if we put on a performance like that for any 45 minutes and we take our chances like we did last night, and I said it, Mark, when Ange came in, that once he gets the players in and they're fit and they're ready, we saw it last night, Mark, we're unstoppable, you know?
And Paul, we're only going to get better.
Yeah, like he said, Hayat is not match fit yet. Do you know what I mean? If that's not match fit from a lad who at 1 minute was scoring a goal. Next minute, then he was down at left back helping Taylor out. Do you know what I mean?
But aye, I mean, we're just going to get even better once we've got Kyogo back, even Rogic and Turnbull back in the squad, things like that. It's making us. Barry saying it earlier on. The big difference is going to be, look at who's sitting on our bench compared to even who we had in our team earlier on in the season. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be, we're going to swap class for class, basically. That's the way I'm looking at it. And I mean, we've only months that Angie's been here. I don't think anybody really expected it to be as good as it has been. I mean, I did expect us to push Rangers, and I said last season, Paul, they're a good team. And they didn't buy anybody to improve them, kind of thing. So if we were clicking, even half clicking, I thought we could get near them because they were falling apart, and then Gerrard left. That's no help to them behind the scenes in that. So I always thought we had a good chance to win the league this year. But see, now I'm practically convinced that we're going to win that league. I just don't see how anybody in Scotland's going to get near us.
And even like the weekend, like they're playing at 4 p.m. We're playing at 1 p.m. We have a chance, Barry, to put more pressure on this Rangers team and see how they're going. Like, they have a tough game against Hearts, you know?
Yeah, and you know something, we've got a tough game against Motherwell.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You know, do you not?
They're not easy games coming, like,
There's no such thing as an easy game now, Paul,
No.
for me. You know, if you've got a Dundee at home or a Ross, these guys are fighting for their life. This is going to be a tough run-in. It is. But like you say, we go to Motherwell, go to Fir Park on Sunday. It's going to be a tough game, but we need to lay down the marker. We laid down that marker last night. That wasn't just a 3 points last night. That wasn't just a victory. It was the manner of the victory. We absolutely destroyed them, and that'll be sitting in their minds. We didn't just edge a game of football.
Even McCoy said that last night. McCoy said, like, this is a marker. Like, this is no time for Rangers to ask questions themselves. Like, are they going to bottle the title again after January? You know, that's his exact words by Alan McCoy's last night. He says they're known for bottling after January, and there's going to be some serious questions. Like I never look at the Rangers banter mark. Like, by God, like, they laid into those players last night. You know.
Aye, but it's just, I've said I need to keep an eye on the live chat and things like that. But I said to you as well, Paul, we're talking about Tavernier, however it is you pronounce it, not getting on down the wing. I said to you in the pod the other night, didn't I? That's one of the things their fans were complaining about. He was just he wasn't bombing up. Van Bronckhorst doesn't use his fullback coming up and overlapping things like that. They're definitely no happy bunnies, because I think it was a lack of fight. And then I think Van Bronckhorst tried to come out and play against us, and that didn't work for him in that first half. And then with substitutions, I think he thought, try and get some muscle in the midfield. And once again, Paul, maybe that's why Rangers did start to come into it a bit. Maybe they were out muscling us a wee bit when they brought on Ryan Jack and things like that. But then they lost actual like footballing side of when they brought them on. So a bit like they'll maybe not finding a balance in their team or squad now as well. Plus, as it says, there probably players want to go and things like that.
You know. Concerning the high tempo, Barry, do you think there'll be some changes to Sunday?
Yeah, I do. I think there'll be changes to Sunday. Obviously, there's a hell of a lot of effort gone in. Not just yesterday. You know, at Tynecastle the day before, a hell of a lot of effort. Even in the game against Dundee United on Saturday there, you know, and that's why we've got these squads. So I do think there'll be changes. For me, as much as I've just praised him, I'd maybe give Matty O'Reilly a wee shot on the bench, because I think he's worked his socks off. He'll not be used to that with MK Don. So, you know, but you've got Tom Rogic who can come in and play there. By the way, can I just say, I've got no problems if Matty O'Reilly plays, but I think it might be an idea just to take him out and give him a wee breather. But you've got, like I say, you've got Tom Rogic to come in there. I think, you know, maybe Abada, he looked like he picked up maybe a wee hamstring injury or maybe a wee behind the knee sort of thing. He might, then you've got maybe James Forrest or even Maeda that could come in and play on the wing.
Like you're saying a lot about people. Like,
maybe starting a young boy, Doak.
No problem with that, Mark. I'd have no problem whatsoever with that. The young boy Doak.
They're saying that it was the ball boys' fault, Mark. What was that all about?
when they scored, they were sticking their fingers up and jumping behind Alan McGregor.
No.
That's why Bobby Madden went
No,
off
but
to the
no,
head
that was in,
security fella.
but that was in the first half, Paul. It was the second half when the boy went out to the security guy.
What happened was, Mark, it was actually quite funny. You'll probably get a couple of clips of it on social media if you have a wee look. But McGregor went to retrieve the ball, and the ball boys ran to beat him to it and just kicked it away.
Right.
And there were times that they were throwing them when they were going to take throw-ins. The ball boys were holding onto the balls and that. But like McCoy said, that he was doing them a favour by slowing things down because they couldn't that game win.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I remember, like, even McCoy's having a joke about, like, to be honest, he said the ball boy did them a favour by not putting the ball back into play. You know, like that's what, like the difference, like in commentators like Chris Boyd and McCoy's, like McCoy's can have a laugh and joke, Mark. Do you know what I mean? And he sees it as it is, like, and he saw that Rangers were bad last night. I know he's still.
McCoy's getting more faces in the Toon Hall Club.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I saw that, like, when he said, like, Celtic signing all these Japanese lads and stuff like that. Like, he said, what's that good for? Like,
see, when it comes to McCoy, you've just got to remember the stuff that he came out with when he was Rangers manager.
Yeah, exactly.
Now he's playing the game, the media game kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. I just want to say, Mark, about Maeda, like, it's shown the commitment of the players who want to play for Celtic. And considering where we were last season, like,
that was a big surprise for me that he was on the bench, Paul.
Yeah, the lad was only off a play, and they come on practically 65 minutes, Mark, and still run about the pitch. And by God, Maeda can tackle as well, Mark.
Aye, definitely. He's kind of like Kyogo as well. For me, they're very similar.
They're
do you know what I mean?
They're not going to be like. I remember I said to you, Mark, when we signed on, like, are they going to be too lightweights? Are they, like, because of the Scottish football barrier? Do you know what I mean? How tough it is, like, but like they're proving everyone wrong. Like, they're well able to hold their own, aren't they?
Oh, definitely. And I think it was quite funny in Maeda's debut against Hibs. There was a couple of times he was pressing, he just didn't stop. He just clattered into two or three of the players. But listen, this is we trust the manager. So Ange's brought these players in, knowing that these players will fit my style perfectly. So I've got no stature, what height they are, these guys will fit into what Ange wants to do, what his plans are. So whilst we've known pretty much nothing about them coming from the J League, the fact that me and I'm sure all the other Celtic supporters, we trust the manager, we have faith in him, we believe in him, that the fact that he deemed that these players are the players that he wanted to bring in, that was good enough for all of us.
And that they would be capable of handling the culture, the country, the changing weather and everything else they've tried to throw them off sync kind of thing. Ange knew exactly what he was getting, do you know what I mean? They knew that they'd be more than capable of doing the job.
Yeah.
I mean, Paul,
you're absolutely spot on, Paul. There's Maeda. Maeda was well within his rights to turn and say, you know what, I've just had a 14-hour flight. I've just landed this morning. I'm a bit tired. My legs are feeling a bit heavy. It's probably best if I give this a miss tonight.
Well, we heard it years from the likes of Lennon and Rogers with Roger. Oh, he's just after travelling back. He's not able to play this game. That's why we rested him. Do you know what I mean? And the last time Roger was on international duty, he was playing that weekend. Do you know what I mean? The
thing is as well, Paul, there's no doubt in my mind that Ange would have left it up to Maeda whether he played or not. And Ange would have consulted the player because the player knows his body better than anybody. But like you say, it's a testament to him that he said, no, you know what, I want to be involved tonight. I want to start on the whatever it is, play on the bench. And you know what, he came on and okay, maybe his impact wasn't that great, but like you've probably got to take into consideration, that he's just been on a 14-hour flight. He played 25 minutes the night before. He jumped on a flight for 14 hours. He then turned up for the match at night. And you know what? Okay, in terms of maybe.
Well, we were able to take. We were able to take off Giamarcus. We were able to take off Giamarcus and rest Giamarcus and not risk another injury up front by him wanting to play for Celtic. Do you get me?
That's it. And you know what? Giacomakis, he actually worked his socks off as well. Every man did. But you really put in a shift. And what we did was, after, I don't know what it was, an hour or 65 minutes, we were able to then say, right, off you come, and we'll put my head on, and he'll work just as hard, which is exactly what he done. Maeda, like you said earlier, was putting pressure on the keeper, pressure on Goldson and Tavernier when he was closing them down and forcing them into errors. And yeah, like I say, for me, it's a testament to the player that he wanted to play yesterday.
Mark,
Well, waiting now, Paul. Well, there, Brian asking on the chat there. Before we knew what Ange is all about at the start of the season, if we were offered our Ange, we all know who we would have chosen then.
Oh, without doubt, Mark. Yeah, so we said it like we.
Oh, what if we once we get the time to look into what Ange was all about? I don't. I mean, really, if you listen back to podcast JFP, if I've mentioned Eddie Howe, he'll be off in a rant now about him. Nanes were really that
keen on him.
No, we were always. Aye, that was it. We expected it, so we were trying to find the good points here. But as soon as Ange came into the equation, I think everybody said right away, this is a totally different kind of approach. It was the kind of approach we were kind of looking for the board to the kind of vision, whatever you want to call it. That we were looking for a modern thinking coach. And then you were listening to interviews with him and the way other people were talking about him. And without a doubt, I'm really, really pleased that we didn't get Eddie Howe, and I'm really, really, really pleased that we did get Ange in.
I don't think we would have got a lot of these players either, Mark, if we went down the Eddie Howe route. You know what I mean?
And you know something as well with regards to Big Ange, I'm confident that he's set the mentality within the squad so that they're not looking at winning leagues or how many points they need to accumulate or how many. It's one game at a time.
Yeah.
That's the mentality that he's instilled. We're not going to look to our next 3 or 4 games. Our focus is on Motherwell on Sunday, a big game. There's no looking forward ahead at anything other than the next game, and that's the mentality that he's installed. This squad won't get carried away. This squad will not talk about winning titles or winning leagues or what can happen. They will solely focus on the next game, and it's one game at a time. And I think that's the right mentality to have.
Mm-hmm. Mark, going on to the next game, like it's crucial now. We beat them. We open up a gap, Mark. I can't remember the last time I said that, Mark. Celtic open up a gap at the top of the league. You know what I mean? It's compared to where we were. It's. I just can't believe it, Mark. That we're speaking of Celtic open up a gap so early. Like, I mean, there's a lot of games to play, but we never thought we were going to be this.
A couple of weeks ago, Paul, we were 6 points behind. We've turned that round, but a point ahead, a point in front. And as Barry says, I don't know if it 14 games to go in the league. Every game's a cup final for Celtic now. People say that's a lot of the wee teams say that when they're playing Celtic or them or that as well. That's their cup final. But Celtic's got to have that kind of approach to every single game. And as I said earlier, if we win every game, we've won the league. There's nothing anybody else can do about that. If we win every game, that's it.
I have a question for you. We saw it against Dundee United. We were very slow and we couldn't get off the mark in the high tempo in the first half and stuff like that. And we saw in a number of games, Mark, we looked very slow. What changed that yesterday? For that, unexpected high tempo against Rangers yesterday.
If I knew that, Paul, I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking to you, mate. But I mean, I think
that's the biggest surprise of it, Mark. That no one expected us, and even Barry, you even said it. And I said, no one expected that first half yesterday. You know what I mean?
But maybe Rangers did come and play a bit of an opener game than other teams, Paul. You know what I mean? They did try with the two the young Man United boy out in the wide and Kent out wide, and they were just leaving us that much space. So maybe that was a bit of a ticket that came into it.
Mm-hmm.
Something I think that there's we know what Celtic are capable of, and we saw that yesterday. That's what that team's capable of. But just the whole occasion, the fact it was the derby on a Wednesday night with 60,000 Celtic supporters and the atmosphere. I'm sorry I missed it. I would have loved to have been there. The atmosphere was just incredible, and that's there's no doubt about it. See, when you've got the backing and that they're with you, you find that extra 10% not a problem, and that's what happened yesterday. The fans were able to not drag that team because the team played well. But the fans were able to push that team to limits that they probably never knew were capable. When you hear Matty O'Reilly talking about it, when you hear Joe Hart today on his Twitter talking about it, and Carter Cameron Vickers speaking about it, they're all speaking about the atmosphere. And I think that spooked a lot of their players yesterday. I don't think they fancied it at all. They didn't fancy it. See that Ryan Kenny? He didn't fancy it. The boy on the other wing, the Man United boy, he did not fancy it. They did not fancy it yesterday. So it was.
Don't expect much for that boy from Man United, Mikey. Barry.
No, in the same, yeah, Mark.
He's not honestly,
exactly.
but
you know.
he's. I'm saying Mikey because I have that conversation, Mikey, about him. Him and Jonas have seen him. Now they go out to watch Atlanta and that, Barry. They seen him and keep up with Atlanta. Atlanta, the club, and their fans just can't believe the money they got for him. The Man United fans, even on their forum, none of them were even mentioned on transfer deadline day that he was away to Rangers or nothing.
No.
He was meant to be signing for Feyenoord or something, and that's kind of fell through. So I don't know if maybe that's how he's kind of ended up at Rangers with Van Bronckhorst's connection to Feyenoord.
Even not just him, Mark. Like even Aaron Ramsey. Like don't expect nothing from him. Like, can you imagine him on a midweek game up in Livingston or? They're Mark, on a wet ground, Mark, with his legs.
I mean, well, that's what I was going to say. I don't know the Rangers fixture list, but I think it's 14 games to go. How many of these games is Ramsey going to be fit for? Right, he's not going to. They're not going to risk playing him on. I don't know if they're still to get away to Livingston and things like that. They're not going to risk him on the kind of surfaces. And as I said, that performance for Rangers last night, Aaron Ramsey's not going to fix that team. He's not going to fix the problems in that team. You know,
and even Mark, I think they have problems in goal as well. Like I thought McGregor was very slow getting to those balls last night, Mark, those goals. I thought he was very slow getting down for his first goal. You know, by the time he got there, the ball was in the goal. You know.
But then again, Paul, if it wasn't for him, it could have been 6 or 7.
That's what I'm saying. He did make some good saves. I agree with you. He's nowhere near the level of the keeper he was. You know, but he still pulled off some good saves last night.
I never saw McGregor, Mark, like putting the ball out so much times yesterday as I did like in any Celtic and Rangers game. Like he bottled, like, not just, like, he's one of the experienced players, Max, and he bottled it yesterday. Do you know what I mean? His distribution was shocking.
But Paul, when it comes to the crunch, a goalkeeper's job's to keep the ball out of the net, and he kept more out than he let in.
But he didn't, though.
He did. How did he know? He made more good saves than he let in goals. He only let in 3 goals. How many good saves did he make during the match? Maybe 4 or 5.
He did. You know, but it's going back.
You know what, guys?
We took our chances.
Talking about sort of McGregor's, his contribution, and what Ramsey or Diallo can offer. See now, like Mark said earlier, it's in Celtic's hands now. We only play them another twice. We've got the focus on our squad and our team. And like Mark says, it's in Celtic's hands now. We're top of the league. If we win every game, we're champions. Now,
but that's going down to what I'm just doing, like one game at a time.
But listen, there's no doubt in my mind. I think we will drop points. But I believe we will drop points between now and the end of the season. I don't believe we're going to win 14 games on the spin. I'd love to do it, and I'd love to come on here and say I was wrong. But naturally, you do drop the odd point here. It just depends on sort of the consistency levels. Like since we've come back from the winter break, we've played 4, we've won 4. They've played 4, won 1, drew 1, drew 2 and lost 1. So they've dropped 7 points, we've dropped none, and as a result, we're top of the league. We just need to focus on what we do now, and that's it. Take one game at a time. Motherwell, tough game, tough place to go for Park on Sunday. I really hope, well, regardless of what the scoreline is, we'll get the victory, because that's all it's about now.
Well, for Shaw now, will Shaw be able to play in that game, do you think, or do you think Celtic have a deal like that he's not able to play?
I don't think he'll be able to play, Paul.
Yeah.
Sure, there's rules that you can't play against your parent club.
It's only in Europe, I think, Mark.
In Europe you can, aye.
Yeah. You know, like,
Motherwell, I'm just looking up the league table there. Motherwell, they're sitting 4th.
Yeah,
they've been doing
European football, Mark, like, you know what I mean? I say
out of their last 5 games, they've only won 1, lost 2 and drew 2. No saying I'm like Barry. I'm just what Barry's saying. It'll not be an easy game. It never is for Celtic at Fir Park, but I'm quite confident we should be able to go and beat Motherwell.
Well, that's it. We just need to go and take the game by the scruff of the neck. We go and control that game, we'll win the game. It's as simple as that. There's no ifs, buts, or maybes. You know, if we control that game, we'll win it. But it's going to be interesting now. We've managed to claw back that lead. We're now sitting top of the league, and we've got 14 games left. And it'll probably be a bumpy ride at times, but it's one that we'll look forward to.
But I think that's the momental advantage, you know, that Celtic have because
Did you just make up a word?
I did, by
the memento. It's the memento.
You know, I just think of it like because of that win yesterday, Mark. Like it's really put the advantage to Celtic, like because they could crumble, like, you know what I mean, and we.
Well, their Brian put up their next 3 games: Hearts, Hibs, and they're in Dortmund. But I mean that Hearts and Hibs are 2 hard games for them as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And as you say, the momentum is with us. We're on a bit of a roll now, whereas they're on their back foot. I wouldn't be surprised to see them drop points, but not saying in both games, but maybe in one of them, even a draw with Hearts or Hibs.
Well, we talk about momentum and sort of psychological advantage. Well,
yeah.
There you go. Like you guys both spoke about there, 2 weeks ago they were 6 points clear, and everybody was talking about this game that happened last night as an opportunity.
No,
for Rangers to go 9 points clear.
I said it last week, Barry. I said the fact that we scored late on against Dundee United, that game was more crucial than this game. You know, because we brought that gap down to 1 point. Do you know what I mean?
You know? Turned it around, and now we're sitting top of the league. And like you say, Paul, we've got a Fir Park at 1 o'clock on Sunday. If we can get the 3 points, do you think they're not going to know that?
Oh yeah.
We're now sitting 4 points ahead of them, and then the pressure's on. Let's see how they deal with that. And if they don't get maximum points there, they're really bang in trouble.
Well, people going out, but you see them on Twitter and that going on about Rangers, they can't play in front of fans and that. And I mean, their own captain's hinted at that sometimes the pressure gets to them. He's said that in an interview in the past about it. And see if they did say drop points against us, either like Hearts or Hibs or that. See that then the pressure, because the fans will be right on their back again, and that'll just.
I think Sean Maloney's Hibs marks, like I can't see Sean Maloney's Hibs sitting back against them. Like Maloney will attack them.
Maloney will know. He'll approach that thinking I can get something out of this game.
You know.
And see, but if I was saying that
as well, 4 tricky games coming on. I think we're away at Motherwell. Then on Wednesday we're away at Aberdeen, at home to Dundee, and then away to Hibs. So we've got 4
tough games
coming up.
Tough games.
Like I said, every game's going to be tough, but we just need to take one game at a time and take it from there, because there's no doubt about it, we can win all 4 of those as we go on. But we just need to wait and see what happens.
I think too, Mark, it's crucial who Ange picks in the team. That he doesn't, like we're saying there now, Abada could be injured for the next game. Like, so could that be more than likely? Maybe James Forbes would come in, or like you said, Mark. I would agree with you. I played a young lad, Doug in there, or maybe even me down the right. So I mean, I just don't want players to come in that would slow down the high tempo. Do you get me? You know, because I think that's where we could lose these games, Barry. Do you know what I mean? You know?
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, obviously, there's a bit of managing players, and this is where, you know, something I don't really like to speak about sports science, but this is where sports science comes in, because getting fed data from individual players, and they'll be the ones that are maybe dropping off it a bit and maybe need a rest. And this is where squad rotation, well, not squad rotation as such comes in, but this is where we think, right, so-and-so's maybe just dropping off it. He's played a lot of football recently. Maybe it's time to bring him out and we could put so-and-so in. You know, I personally think Maeda will play wide right on Sunday. I think he'll come in. I think Giakoumakis will continue. I think Jota will continue. And Maeda will play on the right. And like I say, it wouldn't surprise me to see Rogic coming in for O'Reilly. And I don't know, you know, Taylor, like you say, Taylor was struggling a wee bit. But you've got options, and you've got Liam Scales that can come in there. You've got Ralston that can go over to right back. You know, we've got options now. Like we said earlier, we didn't have these earlier in the season. We've now got good options where we can give players a rest or, cover injuries, if you like.
Like, you look at where we were, Barry, in the first game against Hearts, like, we barely put out a strong 11. Do you know what I mean? And we barely had a squad throughout half the season. But with Ange's mentality and his training, we were still winning games. And like, it's a testament to Ange, like, what he has done, not just the players, but to the club. Like, he's sorted the time, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's been phenomenal for the football club. I can't speak highly.
And it's something that Celtic needed for a long, long time, Barry, isn't it?
So glad, and I'm not, like I say, I've possibly been uncritical of Neil Lennon in the past. I'm not going to criticise him, but it's just refreshing from me, and I'm sure I speak on behalf of a lot of supporters. We've got trust and faith in this manager. We believe in this guy. No matter what he does, no matter whether it's team selection, whether it's formation, whether it's recruitment, I believe in this guy. So I've got no problems with what he decides to do and what he chooses to do. It might not always pay off. Find a player that doesn't work out. He might play a formation that, or maybe, he might play a player in a certain position and it backfires or whatever, but that's okay, that happens. But I have full, wholehearted trust and faith in the manager, and that he's been a breath of fresh air for Celtic Football Club, and you know what, I hope he stays at the club for a long time.
Mark, you know what we kind of noticed on the Ange as well, and we saw it on the previous managers, he rarely plays a player out of his natural position.
Well, I don't know, he played Jovanovic at right wing, didn't he?
But that's what I'm saying. Like Jovanovic, Mark, is like
but that was just
number one left back. Do you know what I mean?
I'm talking about when he played him up at right wing.
Yeah.
But no, I know what you mean. That was just probably a kind of needs must. Do you know, at the time? But the main thing is, one of the main things is, Paul, one of the main things is that he sacked off the beat on at centre back. That's one of the main things that he done. But I know what you're saying. And, I mean, we spoke for weeks here, Paul, talking about where Hatate was going to play, and he told us where he was, and that seems to be this kind of utility man tag. He seems to have lost that face signed.
Like, I just can't believe, Mark. Like I said it, Mark, when we signed him, that going by the reports that he's going to surprise us. You know what I mean? And his shooting, Mark, is next to none, isn't it? Like, he's, he knows where the goal is, don't he?
Hatate?
Yeah.
Aye. Yeah, I mean, really, what can you say? Especially that second goal last night, Paul.
Well, he called it, Mark. There was no right for him to do that. Like, you know what I mean? The way he was, like, the way his position was outside that box, you nearly think he's going to go for the far corner.
But we said that, we did say, Paul, didn't we, the other night? We said the way McGregor was playing at the weekend and that, take his long shots and put the pressure on him. And he made two. The first one took a bit of a deflection, really, didn't it? But the second one, no keeper, we used to say it with Craig Gordon all the time, Paul, no keeper should be beat at their near post. And that was his near post last night.
Yeah.
But if he keeps banging in any kind of goals, we'll soon forget about Ryan Christie. I mean, I compare that to Ryan Christie.
I say Ryan Christie. Go on, Barry.
Just wait until he's match fit.
Yeah.
I noticed McGregor and Ange saying we need to get him fitness. We need to get him match fit. Well, I'll tell you something. If that's the I cannot wait to see him when he's match fit.
That's what is it Madden? Is it James Madden? Is this he was on Sky Sports last, and he was saying, did I just hear that Ange said he's not match fit yet? Like, if that's not match fit.
Callum McGregor said that as well, because putting it to Callum McGregor, he says, he's been phenomenal for the club, but we just need to get him fit. Get him fitter than what he is. So, I mean, again, that just tells you the expectation of Ange's teams. If Hatate's maybe not quite at the fitness levels, I mean, for me, he was everywhere yesterday, so if we're going to get more from him, fantastic.
Mark, of the whole game yesterday, it's a delight for me. Like, we're not talking about a refereeing decision. We're not talking about our goalkeeper. Things that, Mark, we got so used to talking about Celtic teams of old and in these derby games and stuff like that. Like, we can't say nothing about a refereeing decision yesterday, really, can we? You know, that they had no decision to give, really. Like, do you know what I mean? Because
penalty.
I know that, yeah, but like, I'm on about as a favour to Rangers. You know what I mean? We gave him, like, there was no stupid tackles by us, Mark. Like, we weren't giving away silly free kicks that we did in previous derbies outside the box and stuff like that. Like, we gave him no decision to give against us yesterday.
If you want to be petty, I don't think McGregor should have get booked for the one he get booked for.
I think that was going to happen, though, wasn't this?
I mean, as I said, that's just being petty. It's only a stupid yellow card, and gives us at least one thing to moan about with the ref. But if Celtic, that will, excuse me, if Celtic go there and play like that, Paul, you're not getting into these situations.
But I'm going back, and I actually want to get Barry's opinion. Since Steven Gerrard left Barry, right, I'm actually seeing more decisions go against Rangers rather than for them. Because the fact, if there was a decision given against them, Gerrard was on the TV moaning about it every single week. You know? And Gio Van Bronckhorst doesn't seem that manager. Like, he couldn't complain about Celtic's first goal yesterday because he said the referee didn't blow his whistle. You know?
No, I mean, I agree with you in the sense that, Gerrard was on everything. If the linesman awarded a throw in to the opposition, Gerrard was on it, and he'd make comments, and the media would make comments after. I don't know, Paul, in terms of, because again, I've not watched a lot of their matches. I tend not to watch them because
I'm the same, yeah.
I don't really like it. But there's the sign of, I don't know if you guys spoke about it previously, but they receive a penalty and a red card up at Pataudry for the first time in, I think it was 25 months, so over 2 years, and they lodged an 8-point.
But that was the board, and it wasn't Giovanni Bronckhorst. Get me? You know, I just think he's a more football man rather than.
I don't think no.
Like, do you know what I mean, Mark?
I don't think he's going to play into like the media and their fans. The way Gerrard fed that kind of siege mentality with them. I don't think Van Bronckhorst's that type of manager, Paul. I don't.
Like if you saw his interview, like he tore into his team. Like, he said they were shambles.
I mean, I said when you appointed him, right? I do think I'm still maintaining Van Bronckhorst is a good coach. I'm not right, but it's different. We know that. For me, it's like a kind of Warburton appointment for them kind of thing. He's a good enough coach at a certain level, but that's, for me, the job at Ibrox is going to chew up Van Bronckhorst and spit him out probably in the next year. I think he's too nice a guy to get involved in that kind of thing. You get what I mean? That kind of the bitchiness and trying to play the media and things like that. I just don't think he's that type of person.
Like, especially, Mark, do you remember the time himself and Andrew sitting down and having a coffee there that one morning there, like they just met each other randomly.
Andrew and his wife went in some and just
and it was the Rangers fans that were moaning, why is he sitting down with a Celtic manager? Oh, he's too soft, you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Like, as you said there, like, he's a nice guy, Mark, and I don't think that would sit well with Rangers fans, you know?
No, if he's not coming out and saying, oh, the referee should have done this and the referee should have done that, it was no our fault. What was it, Gerrard just to come out with all the time and that? We go again, wasn't it? That was his kind of catchphrase for when they messed up, we go again. And they lapped that up, but if Van Bronckhorst is coming out and giving his honest opinion, they'll not like that because you're not allowed to be honest, you've got to look at it from their point of view.
Mark, just going back to Ben Dogan, we know he hasn't signed a professional contract and stuff like that yet, but if there's any young player at his age that's given an opportunity, I don't see how he couldn't sign a new contract with Celtic at the moment. The way Andrew's showing faith in him, throwing him into a derby, throwing him into the Hearts game last week at half time,
Oh, he's doing the right thing, Paul. He's giving the boy the chance to play, and he's also saying to the young lad, look, I'm playing you at 16. That shows you the kind of
face.
How I see you just now, sir. Stick with me for a couple of years, and I'll make. Do you know what I mean? I'll make sure you're in that Celtic first team.
Barry, what's your thoughts on that there?
Yeah, I mean, you know something, Ben Doak, you know what was I thought was quite funny that Ange says if he didn't play on Saturday, he would have been sitting in the supporters watching him. He's self-confessed Celtic fanatic, and this is where maybe Ange is going to introduce something different or something that other managers haven't. Because, like we've spoken about on previous podcasts many months ago, we've lost players and we've lost youth players to other clubs across Europe, across the UK, due to the fact that they didn't believe that they were going to get an opportunity. So, well, here's a guy, like I say, he's just turned 16 years old, and Ange just had the faith. Because look at his debut on Saturday. It was 0-0 when Doak came on. So it wasn't like, it's sometimes easy for a manager to throw a young lad on, give him his first taste of first team football when you're 3 or 4-0 up at home against a lesser team. The game was on the line, an important match.
Yeah.
And Ange showed the faith to throw this guy in there. For me, where he is, the club's shown a bit of faith in him. I'd like to see the club put a contact in front of him, and I'd be pretty confident that a guy like Ben Doak would sign a contract, and more may follow. Fingers crossed.
Like, that's why I think James Forrest needs to be asking questions about himself, Barry. Like, that he was getting substituted at Dundee United when Celtic needed a goal by a 16-year-old. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's the thing. James Forrest has got to sort of question himself, Paul.
Yeah.
But is he up to it? Is he up to this sort of position within Ange's team? Because, like I say, there's plenty of guys now. We've now got options. We've now got Abada. You've got young Owen Moffat, who he experienced a bit of. They showed faith in him by putting him on in the cup final. So you've got these young guys now that are chapping on the door, as well as the established guys that are in there. Forrest now got to ask himself, am I up to this? Am I up to the task? If the answer is yes, great, but he will have to lift his performance levels. If it's not, we might not see the James Forrest of old, and we might see his Celtic career maybe come to an end soon. I don't know. But I like to say, I'm not writing Forrest off. If Forrest believes that he can still make a contribution, he will have to up his performance levels if he's going to do that. And if he does, great. I'm happy if it's James Forrest, because we do know what he's capable of.
Would you echo that, Mark? Yeah?
I totally agree with everything Barry said there. It's up to Forrest now. He needs to put in the work and prove that he's up, as Barry says, up to the job. And for me, it's a bit of a slap in my face getting subbed for a 16-year-old when Celtic are chasing a goal. And
that's what I think, Mark, is like, if I was James Forrest, I'd be looking, going, a 16-year-old is coming on for me. Do you know what I mean?
Aye, definitely. I mean, you're looking. I mean, he's one of our top earners. He's one of our most decorated players of all time, Paul.
Exactly.
He's only what, 30, 31 or something like that, isn't he? If he even is that now. So for me that is a bit of a slap in my face for him. And I said to you in the last podcast when we spoke about him, Paul, is if should Celtic be paying James Forrest the wages they're paying him for being like your third choice winger?
Yeah, because
you've got to look at it even for the business side of things. You can't let sentiment get in the way of progression, Paul.
Like, that's one thing we say out of Ange, Barry, like, there's no favouritism in him. You know what I mean? If you don't do the work, you're not playing. Like we saw last year with Scott Brown and stuff like that. Like, I think with Ange, if you're not putting in the shift that he wants you to play, you're not going to get in the team, Barry. You know?
Oh, without a doubt, Paul. He's very clear on his expectations for his players, and the good thing is that all seem to be on board.
Yeah,
and you only have to go to, like, he made a comment, and it was just, for me, it was so refreshing. Talked about, I think it was when you know what it was. It was when they were after the boy Riley McGree, the Australian, and the transfer didn't go through. And he said something along the lines of, "I'll never try and sell this club to a player." He says, "I'm not going to do that." He says, "I want players that are going to come and be desperate to play for this football club." And see, for me, that was absolutely brilliant to hear. And I think he's got them. I think everybody within this squad, they're desperate to play. They want to play for this football club. There's no passengers. There's no guys that are, no matter what what performance they put in, they're going to play. That's happened in the past. More clubs than just Celtic. good, bad, or indifferent, they'll play every single week because maybe they're on a certain amount of money, or the politics will dictate that they'll play no matter what. That's not going to wash with Ange. If you're not up to the task, you will not play in the team. If you drop off your levels that he expects, you will not play the team. If you're not at the races, you will not play in the team. And it's so healthy for a squad where that is the mentality, because the squad know, if I am not at it this week, I will not play next week. And that makes you raise your game and try and maintain a level that is going to keep you in that team, and that'll only be beneficial for the whole football team.
Mm-hmm. Mark, just going back to what you're saying there about like he's one of the top owners. Like, look at this way, like from Love Mark there, like Forrest is what, 100k a month to play one game.
Aye, that, and you've got to look at that, Paul. I mean, it's a lot of money for getting out of a club if he's no even your main backup winger.
Mm-hmm.
And as Barry's saying there, he's not really showing he's not really. I know he's had injuries and he had the COVID issue as well, didn't he, Paul? So you maybe cut him a bit of slack, but over the second half of the season, I'll be looking for James Forrest to basically pull his socks up, Paul, and go on with it and put a bit of graft into being a Celtic player.
But Mark, what about Julian picking up another little knock? No, it's not serious, like it's just a little knock, like, but there's a player, Mark, who, like, we're talking about Forrest picking up these nickel knocks, like, I mean, Julian again has picked up another knock in training, like, you know what I mean? Like, he's another player, Mark, I think Celtic may look at, like, I mean, if he's getting injured all the time, I know he's after serious injury, like, but
I'd definitely be looking to move Julian on.
Yeah,
as soon as he's fit, if he's fit, I mean, when's he going to be fit? Even Ange, I know Ange was spoken before about Ange with this patient confidentiality kind of thing and stuff like that, but Julian's just, I mean, people have been going on about getting on Starfelt's back or get Julian back to play beside Carter Vickers, but Julian he never had any heart, Paul. He was always he didn't seem to handle the physical side of the Scottish game well. Very, very injury prone, and if we can get him fit, I'd be looking to move Julian on in the summer. Is our main priority.
Your thoughts on that?
I think for me, the priority is getting Carter Vickers tied up. I'd love to that. Because if obviously we don't know the ins and outs of what goes on behind the scenes at the club. If Julian was to move on, for example, and Carter Vickers didn't sign a permanent contract, you're then looking at sort of Starfelt and Welsh as your only centre halves. This is something that I'm sure the club are aware of. But whether or not, I mean, I think Julian might struggle to get game time between now and the end of the season. Because the games are vitally important, and it's not really a time that you experiment unless maybe you're forced into it. If the centre halves pick up an injury and Julian's your only sort of fit centre half. For me, I don't think it's the time to be experimenting. Obviously, I feel sorry for the big fella in the sense that he's been out a long, long time, and as a result, it's going to take you a lot of time to get up to speed. I know he's been ready and he's had setbacks, etc. With regards to letting him go, I'd be with honest. I kind of agree with Mark. I've never liked the fact that he's a 6'4", 6'5" colossus, yet he doesn't like the physical side of the game. I've never understood that. The Scottish game's physical. He is ideally suited to it. Yet anytime he gets a wee slap, or remember when he came up against Lyndon Dice, he didn't want to know. So in that sense, if we had somebody lined up and a ready-made replacement, I wouldn't be upset at seeing Julian going, because another thing, for me, he was fantastic attacking in the opposition's box, but he was never that great at defending his own box, even though he had the stature to do so. So with regard to Julian, I wouldn't be disappointed if we moved him on, but I would like to have some sort of contingency in place going forward.
Mm-hmm. Like Mark, that's like what Barry said there, like he's a threat in the other half and stuff like that, but that's not really our style of play under Ange now. Like, you know what I mean? To throw up a big defender if we're chasing a goal or something like that. That's not something we're going to see under Ange. Like, do you know what I mean?
I honestly, I just don't see Julian having much of a future under Ange at Celtic. Not just under Ange. I think it just one of the. It was decent. It was never great. I think a lot of us gave him a lot more credit than he actually deserved. To be honest, it was. He never really progressed as a player. People compared him to a young Virgil and things like that as well, which was a bit mad, to be honest. But I think it's just one of the things, if we can move him on and get somebody more suited that Ange actually chooses to be in, he chooses for us. I mean, Ange hasn't even seen this guy playing a game of football yet, and people are wanting him shoehorned back into the team.
Yeah, like that's true, Mark. Like, I mean, Ange hasn't even seen him.
No. And then he's training. He's doing a couple of weeks training, then he's out injured again.
And I think what you've got to remember as well, Stephen Welsh is ahead of Julian.
Exactly.
Oh,
yeah,
definitely, 100%, Barry.
If they put Julian in ahead of Welsh, because Welsh has never let the club down when he's come in. So for me, Julian's sitting fourth choice centre half just now, and you know I'm a big Welsh admirer, as I've mentioned on here many times. So you know, I think I said that before. I think he's going to struggle to get game time between now and the end of the season. And if that is the case, I'd imagine they probably would look to move him on in the summer.
That's it for tonight, lads. Thanks to Barry again for joining us, and of course, as always, you guys in the live chat. We look forward to Sunday. Celtic hopefully will open up a 4-point lead at the top. Thanks, Mark. We'll close the show.
Hey, thanks very much, Paul, and you, Barry. Thanks a lot for coming on, bud. Really appreciate that, mate. Hey, everybody's joined the live chat. There's a couple of new faces as well, so I hope you enjoyed what we're trying to do here. Just remember, hit the like button, and if you've not hit the subscribe button, and if you know how, please leave a comment, because it helps us grow the channel on YouTube. Hail, good night, God bless.